When it comes to ministry, nobody's favorite part is having to have hard conversations with parents about their child's behavior, especially if that child may have a hidden disability. But handling those conversations well is important. So today, we're going to take a look at 3 things that can make hard conversations a little bit easier. So I heard one of your students is having a tough time in class and you're wondering how you should approach his parents. That's a good question. Wonder if there are any other questions that may help you figure it out. When a student is having behaviors in your classroom, you may wonder what is the best way to approach his parents about it, especially if that student may have a hidden disability. After all, you want to give grace, but you also want to curb behaviors, so you may wonder what you should say. Well, sometimes what's more important than what you say is what you ask yourself. Today, we're going to look at 3 things to ask yourself before talking to parents. Hidden disabilities in the church, talking to parents about behaviors, 3 things to ask first. Number 1, what is life like for this family? If you have a student who regularly struggles in your class, it can be easy to focus on how that behavior is affecting you. Honestly, it may be stressing you out. If you stop thinking about the problem here, then you risk talking to parents in a way that leaves them feeling alone and misunderstood. Because for them, the struggles don't start and stop in your class. Children who have hidden disabilities struggle in many different environments, often every day, which can make things like acclimating to a class environment much more challenging. And this is because they have many more challenges to deal with themselves. For instance, did you know that children with autism have a much higher rate of sleep issues like insomnia, which means many kids and their parents are always exhausted? And what about those students whose fight or flight systems are stuck on overdrive, like kids with anxiety disorder or trauma? Can you imagine how hard life would be if any small uncertainty could trigger an intense emotional reaction? And what about students with complex medical conditions? What does a morning look like here, where lengthy medical routines must be performed before a family can even leave the house? The truth is, life is more challenging for these families, and sometimes just getting everyone out the door into church can feel like a major accomplishment, because it is. So when a child that has extra challenges struggles in your classroom, before you talk to parents, stop and think about how hard that family may have worked just to get to church that day. This may not change the fact that behaviors need to be addressed, but it will help put things in perspective and give you the understanding and empathy that you need. Number 2, what do you want to communicate? Perhaps the single most important thing that you can do to help make a hard conversation easier is to be intentional with your communication. This includes what you say and how you say it. So pay attention to your nonverbal cues and use open body language with a calm, warm, neutral tone of voice. Then when you bring up the issue, start with what matters most, what's best for the child. You can say something like, "We noticed that your child is feeling uncomfortable and we wanted to see what we could do to help him." Clearly communicating what you want to discuss in a positive way helps parents understand what the conversation is about and understand that you care about their child too. And if you want to make things even more positive, it's okay to start the conversation with something good like, "Your kiddo did the best drawing today." By putting the focus on helping the child and using relaxed nonverbal cues, you will set a positive tone and communicate that this is a safe place to share. Number 3, what is the objective really? It may seem that your objective for talking with parents would be to find a solution to the problem, right? Well, hidden disabilities can be complicated, and that means parents are not going to have all the answers all the time. So the real objective is not to find a solution, it is to form a partnership. Partnering with parents means that you invite them to work things out with you. It acknowledges that none of you have all the answers, but that's okay, because you'll support each other as you figure things out. And it gives you an opportunity to talk through things until a plan is formed. Plans differ from solutions in that they aren't successes or failures. Instead, they are actions that can be implemented, evaluated, and changed if needed. Plans allow you to talk through the what-ifs, such as, what if our plan doesn't work right away? How will we handle things then? And this matters because it means that no matter what happens, you and the family are on the same page. And that's always a win. So how exactly do you form these partnerships and get these plans? Well, How about start with a few open-ended questions like these? You can say, we want your child to feel better. Is there anything we should know that may help us understand him better? And what has helped in situations like this before? And don't forget this one. What do you think would be a realistic expectation for your child? Remember, setting the child up for success means setting expectations that are reasonable for that child's developmental level, even if that looks different from the rest of the class. And one more thing about partnering with parents. It isn't just about working through a problem. Partnerships build strong relationships for the long haul. So if in the future behaviors happen again, you and the family are ready to support each other again. Well, I feel like we learned a lot of helpful stuff about talking to parents about behaviors, but there's one more thing before you go. Today we looked at a lot of questions you may want to ask, but there's one question that you should always ask. How can you be praying for this family? Remember that every time God brings people into your life, you have the chance to love them through prayer. Parents of children who have hidden disabilities may need these prayers more than you know. So stop and think, who do you know that you can be praying for today? Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.